Hi, today's video is all about last minute revision. Now, it's definitely not something which I recommend. However, if you have found yourself in a position where exams are looming and you don't quite feel ready for them, let's be honest, no one ever really does. But if you think maybe you've left things a little bit late, then these are my top tips for getting that revision done as effectively as possible and helping you to minimize stress during that time. So the first thing which I would do is to make a table. I'm going to superimpose the style of table which I use over the top of this video. So you can divide it into either 3 or 6 columns, so morning, afternoon and evening. And if you want to split the morning, afternoon and evening in half as well, you can do that, and that will give you 6 revision blocks. So personally, I like to use 3 a day, morning, afternoon, evening, but you can make it into 6 like I said. The next thing which we need to do is we're aiming to have 1/3 of the blocks crossed off for downtime, doing something you enjoy, and other commitments. So it's really important that you have this to look forward to balance your day, otherwise you're just going to burn out. Even if your exams are really close, you really don't want to overwhelm yourself because you're just going to stop taking in the content. And I learned this across 5 years of trial and error at university. This is what worked best for me. You need to consider things that you've already got. So other commitments, so say you have a family quiz night or a Zoom call or something like that planned, then you need to block off that section already, and then that's that for the day. So say you're doing it in an evening, you'll block off the evening on that day and leave the morning and the afternoon available. Say you've got something you need to do on the morning, or you really want to watch a program that's on, that kind of thing, anything you can think of, then block off the morning and leave afternoon and evening free. And the free sessions are where we're going to fill in our revision. So once we've got the table ready to fill in, the next thing you need to do is write a list of all the topics which you've got left to study. So the closer you're getting to the exam, the bigger and broader these topics are going to be. So using dentistry as an example, because I'm a dentist, I would divide this into, say, oral surgery, pediatrics, endodontics, periodontology, and that kind of thing, so restorative dentistry in general. So breaking it down into big topics if you've got the exam really close, because you won't have time to necessarily go over individual lectures. If you've got loads of time left, then you can divide it into smaller subcategories. So you might divide it into specific lectures or more specific topics. So because this video is talking about last minute revision, I would give yourself broader topics. And then you can start filling in the table. So say you've got 10 topics and 20 gaps, that would allow you to do each topic twice. Or maybe the other way around, maybe you've got 20 topics and 10 gaps, you'll be able to do 2 topics per session. And it really helps you to figure out how much time you can afford to allocate to each topic. Ideally, you want as much time as necessary to get it all done. But again, this is about last minute revision. So if you're running out of time, you need to be really realistic about how much you can actually get through. And this is where which I found it really helpful to make sure that I'm going to cover all the topics. Now, if there's something which you think is a smaller topic and then you've got a bigger one, you could combine them. Or if you think there's one you're really struggling with, put that in first. So always fill it in using the most difficult, time-consuming topics first. Ideally, try and leave a few catch-up sessions. So for me, I wanted a day a week, so 2 blocks a week. Or say if you've got your days divided into 6, then I would want 4 blocks a week, because obviously you've got to still have that 1 block for the day as a gap. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, on my table, which I'm going to show you here over the top of me talking, I'm going to give you an example with dental topics filling it in and with a day off. So that should be a bit clearer of how I would approach that. So I really hope that made sense. That's a system which I used, and I found it really helpful for me to be able to see how much time I'd got to revise, how many topics I needed to cover, and it gave me the confidence that I'd got a bit of a plan in place, that I wasn't just working down a list and would suddenly run out of time. Ideally, you don't want to have to come back to a topic or change your plan. Now, you can obviously change it as you go along, but if you don't finish a topic in the allotted time and you carry on into the next session, you're already going to be running behind. So that's what I used my catch-up days for. I would shuffle things around. Maybe if I really felt like I needed an extra half day on something, I'd fill it in on my catch-up day, just so that I knew I was going to come back to it. And it meant that, again, I wasn't intruding on the time which I was meant to be spending on another topic, because it's really tempting to think, oh, I just don't know this one thing, and keep going and going, whereas you really don't want to kind of risk not getting everything covered that you still need to do. I'd also recommend having a nighttime routine and a morning routine. Personally, I don't always have a routine. It comes and goes depending on what I've got going on, and that works for me. But during exam time, it's really important to have a routine. Try and have the same wake up time and bedtime. Again, this is talking about last minute revision. Approaching an exam, you need to make sure that you've got a bit of a routine in place, something which helps your body know it's time to switch off. So things like not using your phone before bed, maybe an hour before bed, putting it on do not disturb, having pillow spray, you can even make these at home, and that kind of thing, just so certain fragrances you start associating with relaxing. Try not to rely on alcohol to help you fall asleep. I know if you have a few drinks, it can make you feel more relaxed and maybe you'll fall asleep quicker, but this can often impact the quality of the sleep which you're actually having. So getting really good sleep is so important. The extra hour of revision is not going to help that much compared to the extra hour of sleep. So make sure you're getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, just to make sure you're fully rested and switched on. I've tried all techniques. I've done all-nighters, I've tried getting up at the crack of dawn to revise, revising all through the night, and when it came to my finals, I did have my 7 to 8 hours sleep each night because I realised that that was so much more beneficial. And I always was of the mindset, no, the extra hours revising, I just need to do it, I don't know everything. But from trial and error, the sleep was more important and I did perform better. So if you can, in your breaks, try and do something which you enjoy. So personally, I used to prepare my food when it was getting closer to exams. And I'd say, right, 90 minutes, I can get a few days food ready. And I found that really helpful because I hate clearing up after dinner. I don't mind the cooking, but I don't like the tidying up after because it just felt like I was wasting time. So by preparing my food, it meant that when I came to have a break, I could actually enjoy the break. So I could watch TV or a YouTube video, or I could read a book whilst I was snacking, anything like that. It just meant that I was saving time and actually using my breaks more sort of they were more beneficial to me. So I definitely say if you can prepare your food and make the most of your breaks, then you'll really benefit from this. It's really helpful if you can get in a little bit of movement each day. Again, as you're getting closer to exams, you may not be able to go running half marathons, that kind of thing, but at least just 15-20 minutes just to get yourself moving, and it's really good for your mindset and also as a bit of a distraction and for stress levels. So I definitely recommend trying to get in some exercise as well. It's much easier said than done, but try not to panic and to stress because you can't change where the exam's going to be or when. It is going to happen. So just trying to talk to yourself and think, right, this is as much time as I've got a plan, these are my topics, and I just have to do it now. Because you can't change it, there's no point getting panicky and stressing, and say you do fail the exam, that's a whole different topic. But there's nothing you can do now other than just focusing, getting your head down. Worrying is just going to put you in a totally wrong mindset for studying and for learning. You need to be as relaxed as possible to take everything in and not be just overwhelmed by your own thoughts. So something which I also used to do is to make a little, well, I was going to call it a cheat sheet, but I don't mean cheat at all. I would make a little crib sheet for the morning of the exam. So anything which kind of crossed my mind whilst I was studying, which I thought, I'm finding this difficult to remember or to retain, I would put it all onto one Word document. So per exam, I had one document, or you could have a flashcard, and anything while I was preparing for that exam that I thought, I'm going to want a refresher of this on the morning, I put on that sheet, printed it off ready the night before. So then when I woke up in the morning, I could sit and have my breakfast. So it's really important to have breakfast on the morning of the exam, have a cup of tea whilst I just scanned through that sheet. And I knew that I'd put on that sheet the things which I felt were really important, that I was struggling to remember. So it kind of was like a previous me preparing for future me, and it reassured me. So on the morning, I always had this piece of paper, and I wasn't really cramming, but it just meant it was getting me in the mood for the exam, reminding me of things and giving me the confidence, like, okay, the things which I was really struggling with are right here in front of me, so I can just read through them and they'll be fresh in my mind when I go into the exam room. This is easier said than done, and obviously if you're watching this, it's probably on social media, but I try to avoid social media, group chats, Facebook groups, uni chats, that kind of thing when it's getting close to the exam, because people will start saying things that you might not have learned, or you may understand it differently, and Some people won't agree with this, and in general I think that revision with groups and with friends is really, really good. But again, we're talking maybe a couple of weeks before an exam, a week before, you're getting really close, maybe getting a bit stressed. This is the time when I would try not to engage in all of this discussion, because maybe you know 90% of stuff and someone else knows a different 90%. You're going to hear the 10% you don't know from them. And if you just don't have time to cover everything, all it's going to do is stress you out. It's very different earlier on in the process if you're comparing things with friends, helping each other revise, because yes, you're going to pick up stuff you've missed or that you didn't know. But when we're getting into cramming really close to an exam, this is the kind of thing which could panic you, it could stress you. You might even hear something which is different to what you've learnt, and you might be right. And don't always question yourself, because it's happened to me before. I've learnt something just before an exam, someone said something and I thought, oh my gosh, this is literally stood outside the exam room. Oh my gosh, I've learnt it wrong. That's not what I thought. I've gone in and then just had a panic in the exam because I've not known whether to write what I'd learnt or what I've just heard somebody say. And it turned out I'd learnt the right thing. So it's just really important that you don't get too overwhelmed by what everyone else is saying and doing, because it could really lead to overwhelming stress and panic. So I hope those tips were helpful. It's a stressful time coming up to exams, and I completely sympathise with that. I've been through it myself. It's high stakes. You're thinking, oh, if I don't get through, this could happen, that could happen, but try not to focus on the negatives. Most people will get through the course. You got into university for a reason. You are good enough. Just keep on trying, keep your head down, have a system and a plan. Trial and error will always come into it, especially in the first few years, but just knowing what works for you and trying to constantly work towards coping with exams better. So it's something which I always found really difficult, really stressful, but as I progressed through the course, I sort of became a bit more rational, calmer, and because I had a system that I knew worked for me, I managed it a lot better. And the results spoke for themselves because I started to do much better and perform better in my exams. Good luck if you've got upcoming exams. Please share this video with any colleagues or friends who may find it useful. Everything I do on here is to try and provide help and something of value to you. So if you do have anything else I can help you with, then please let me know. Send me a message or comment on this video.